Before practice, going to broadcast speaking to Amy McAnarney. Hi, Amy. How are you?
Hi, Paul. It's great to be with you guys.
Always like speaking with you, Executive Director, CPA of the Tax Institute at H&R Block. And we're going to talk about, you've got your W-2 and your receipts, but do you know, 5 things every taxpayer must know. Well, what's in a W-2 to start off with?
A W-2, and a lot of people get that confused with the W-4, but the W-2 is the piece of paper you get from your employer saying, here's how much money you earned this year, here is the amount of taxes that we withheld, whether it be federal, state, or local. Then it has a lot of other information, such as did you contribute to a 401k, a health savings account through your employer, but it's all employer-based. So if you had multiple employers, you're going to get multiple W-2s.
Okay, so now, what are some of the kinds of things that each taxpayer, and every taxpayer should know some of these things. You can't just leave it up to, your tax accountant overall, right? It's a responsibility that you should take on yourself in addition to working with people that do know the thing, like H&R Block in this case, right?
Yeah, it is a two-way relationship, so you can't just lean on someone else to kind of know everything and how that fits into your life. So you need to be prepared. If you do seek out help, you need to be prepared to really think through what happened in calendar year 2009 that impacts taxes. And that's where, if you go to a tax expert, they should be able to really ask you some really great interview questions to pull that out of you. Think of it like if you're going to a doctor, and the doctor asks you, well, how's your health? And you say, oh, it's fine. But they start kind of peeling that onion back and asking you all those detailed questions. Then that opens up the conversation of how certain changes in your life impact your health. It's the same thing for taxes.
Okay, very good. So what are some of the kinds of things that they might ask you, so you should be prepared? And hopefully you're prepared early on, so you don't have to then go back and then find all those things.
That's exactly right. So some new changes this year. One of them may ask, hey, did you buy a home this year? And we all know that that actually contributes to a tax event. But there's some new laws this year that can get you a credit. First-time home buyer credit of $8,000. Repeat home buyer is $6,500. So that's a really interesting, detailed, and complicated issue this year because of those additional tax dollars. Also, you may have found yourself out of work this year. And if your tax expert asks you those questions, particularly around did you receive unemployment compensation, you need to take off the first $2,400 and not include that in your taxable income, because that's a new tax break only for 2009 that you can receive this year. Also, education credits is another big one, where there are about 5 or 6 or 7 education credits available, knowing which one fits your situation, whether it's you yourself going back to school for 1 or 2 classes or enrolling full-time in a college. There are different tax breaks, some of them new this year. So those are some examples of asking detailed questions, which is key.
Let me ask you another basic question that I think is, I'm not sure if everybody understands. At the beginning, before when you start a job, they ask you questions like how many dependents you have, things like that?
That's right, and that's where I mentioned at the beginning there's a W-4, and that's, people get that confused with the W-2 process. Okay. So when you start with an employer, they're going to ask you to fill out a lot of different paperwork, one of them being a W-4, where you actually estimate and determine how much taxes do you want to have withheld from your paycheck. And this is a time where you really need to think through, what will your tax bill be like at the end? Do you want to have a balance due, or do you want to get a refund? So figuring out what you want and then backing into the right number to put on that W-4 statement. It's really critical. So that's when you might want to pick up the phone and call a tax expert.
Okay. And so isn't it something like you can put up to, so give an example. It's like if somebody, you could put up to 10, or can you put up, how does that work? You literally can adjust that to your benefit.
You can. So for instance, a lot of people who end up owing taxes at the end of tax season, and they go, darn it, next year I don't want to. You can actually, write in a certain dollar amount that you want to have additionally withheld from every paycheck so that you don't have to end up owing at the end. Or on the flip side, if you want to get all the money possible in your paycheck, claim your dependents indicate that on the W-4 to make sure that, and that's where, if you have 4 kids or 6 kids or 10, actually you can put that on your W-4 to receive the maximum amount in your paycheck so that you're not waiting for that refund at the end of the year.
Can you claim, and maybe I'm not right here, but can you claim, say you have only 1 kid, right? But can you claim 10 kids? I mean, not 10 dependents. How does that, is that right or is that wrong?
No, you actually have to go through, because you can't, you need to go through the process of estimating what it will be, because if you don't have enough withheld from your paycheck, you could end up paying a penalty because you didn't figure that out, and that's on the exception side, but you could end up paying a penalty if you choose 10 dependents on your W-4 and at the end of the year that wasn't right. So balancing that, actually using a W-4 calculator, which you'll find on a lot of different websites, it's key to go through that process.
Okay, very good. Is there any other more recent opportunities for a taxpayer at this moment?
There's a lot of different things. Energy credit, that's a hot, big item because there aren't any income limitations on that, so that's $1,500 tax credit you could receive. I talked about higher education, unemployment. A new one, 8 out of 10 people could qualify for making work pay credit, and that's a credit of up to $800, but yet you need to fill out another schedule, which is Schedule M, to make sure you claim that correct dollar amount.
Say that one again.
Making work pay credit. Up to $800, but fill out a Schedule M, so M for making work pay credit, to claim the correct amount that's due to you.
Now, what does that mean, working pay credit?
So that's just the name of the credit, and it was passed by part of the Recovery Act for those earning paychecks, in efforts of stimulating the economy and getting money back to hard-working Americans. That's what that credit is positioned to do.
Well, that's good news. Okay. All right, very good. Any other one you'd like to share at this moment, Amy? You always have a lot of information, I know that.
There's a lot. I could go down the list of about 300 of them, but I tell you what, probably what's a great resource for people to do on their own as they're surfing the web is go to hrblock.com, irs.gov. Those are 2 great resources to kind of navigate through this complicated weave of tax law changes.
Okay, well, your Tax Institute has a lot of information on your website. There's a ton of it. And you always have very, very positive. Last question, what news to share with us? What's the last question? What's good news for you, Amy?
Good news for me. Let's see. What is good news? Well, it's almost tax season, right? And so come April 16th, then I can spend some time with my family, which is always really good. I have a little two-year-old daughter, so that's going to be a lot of fun, and we're going to take a little vacation. So I'm looking forward to that.
I thought you might say that. All right, thanks, Amy. Take care.
Thanks, you too. Bye-bye.